Thank you for the introduction. Very good afternoon, everyone. Very pleased, a pleasure to be here at FHS World with our esteemed panelists. Indeed, we're going to be covering a topic which is very close to my heart, but I'm sure also to the heart of our panelists and a lot of the professionals in the room. And it's really the topic that we're seeing more and more present and at the center of many of the conversations in the industry. It's how do we serve the next wave of visitors, those visitors that are quite unusual, I would say, if we compare them to the past, not the traditional visitors. We're seeing a trend, those that wouldn't fit in traditional segments of business, leisure, or lifestyle. The travelers today are much more fluid. They're looking for work, but also wellness, extending their stay for cultural exploration. They're blending purpose with pleasure and productivity. And as the introduction was saying, at PwC, we've recently worked and put in place a framework for stay, play, shop. And it's a recent research and publication that we've produced that covers or answers the question of the equation of stay, play, shop. How can destinations shape an integrated experience and a connected experience for the connected visitor? And this work was born from a basic question of how can those destinations meet the needs of those new fluid visitors, those who expect connection, flexibility, and meaning in their journeys, beyond just accommodation, retail, and entertainment. And the report highlights a very fundamental shift in something that we're seeing across the globe, but also more than anything here in the region, in the GCC, moving away from functional destinations that focus only on physical assets, but rather focusing on experiential ecosystems that work together to bring to life experiences that meet those visitors' needs. And we're seeing three key trends across those destinations. We're seeing a first move of the visitors' needs from passive to purposeful visits. We're moving also from planned itineraries to experiential and fluid journeys. And we're seeing also a major shift in luxury, moving from excess in luxury to meaningful, authentic, and autonomous, and I would say freedom in the journeys. And with that, I'm very pleased to welcome our panelists, with whom we're going to be covering four key themes or topics. The first one, we will be covering a theme around the connected visitor, understanding the connected visitor. Second would be around mixed purpose journeys. The third topic will be reimagining that equation I was talking about, stay, play, shop, and those experience layers. And the fourth one is how do we collaborate in the ecosystem in which we play, specifically in hospitality and destinations. So we're joined by four exceptional leaders. I will start with Stefan Schubba, who is the CEO and owner of Shadi Hospitality.
Thank you.
David Bonnet, who is the Senior Vice President for Finance at Atlantis. Michael Grieve, who is the Chief Brand Officer of Jumeirah. And last but not least, Abhay Bakaya, who's the Chief Development Officer for Starwood Hotels. So let's start with the very first topic around understanding the connected visitor. Those visitors that are much more motivated by, I would say, the feeling rather than the sightseeing, if we can say. Feeling connected, integrated, inspired. And maybe we can start with you, Stefan. We were having that conversation. We all prepare panels, huh? So we were preparing the panel. And we were discussing that, I mean, in reality, as you were saying, no matter what, connected experiences start with a fundamental, which is extremely solid and superior service. So how do you bring that philosophy to life to adapt your hospitality models and offerings to meet those new travelers' needs, seeking meaningful experiences and mindfulness in general across your portfolio globally?
I guess in the forum we talk a lot about technology, AI, but it was good to see Nasser, Gerald, some of the leading hospitality icons in the market, where I had the pleasure to work with coming to the region 30 years ago. And I think the fundamental in our business is still giving service. You and I had that debate, correct? We said, okay, we can narrate and create so many experiences. Some do it better than others. But I think the key is still that, that you get your coffee in 2 minutes. That when you have a change, I had breakfast this morning here and somewhere, and I said, I want to change this. Not possible, will be an extra charge. I was in New York last week, I just came back yesterday from Italy, and I was in a top hotel, and between 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock before lunchtime, I was not able to have a coffee. So we can narrate and create so many things, and again, many do it better than others, but the customer still expects the basic service delivery. And I think that's where it starts, and from there we need to build. We have 4 projects in Saudi, and I was on site, and one of the projects had probably 30 offerings during the day, but none of the offerings suited me as a customer. I wanted to do something at 5 o'clock. It was just not possible. So I think that's where we need to move towards more flexibility, adaptability, ownership, and that comes back down to the senior leadership in a company or in a hotel who takes that on.
Yeah. And from your perspective, Abhay, as a chief development officer and as, I would say, more from a development agenda, how do you balance between those two perspectives to evolve your product and place-making offering, balancing between also consistency, standards, or basic standards, and maybe also local authenticity and local collaboration?
Yeah, loaded question, but thanks, Philippe. And I did not have as much time to prepare. But absolutely, I think just by way of background, Starwood Hotels relaunched earlier this year. But as a company, we've been around for a few years now. We're the platform for 3 brands, One Hotels, Baccarat, and Treehouse. So, our founder, Barry Sternlicht, of course, was the original founder of Starwood Hotels back in the 90s, and still has a strong passion for the industry and is still, iconic in terms of his ability to read trends and create new concepts. So with that, we have 3 very distinct brands, all sort of play in the lifestyle space, as we call it, with one being sort of luxury lifestyle, sustainable oriented. Baccarat, of course, playing from the iconic luxury Crystal brand and translating that into the hotel space. And then Treehouse being our younger, fun, sort of retro, concept. But in all cases, for us, each brand is very distinct. There's a clear sort of mission or purpose behind each of them. And I think it's important to ensure, as the operator or as the brand, you're sharing that same sort of vision with not only your guest, but with the owner, also with the employees. We're not growing just for the sake of growing. It's important for us to kind of look at each project at a time and ensure that all those sort of values align. And that's where we, from our perspective, find the most success and find hotels that are active throughout the day. So you can get a coffee at 11 a.m. and you can get a beer at 11 a.m. maybe too. We've really seen a lot of resonance from the marketplace, from the customer base, and also, again, with employees and ensuring that our retention rates are really strong and people buy into it. So we've seen a lot of success with that, and we've been nimble in terms of using technology and using our app platforms to, again, sort of further engage with our clientele. So
We'll come back to that. I think the last segment will be really around collaborating and bringing the best from digital and tech. A question for you, Michael, and one thing that we saw in our publication, and I touched on it in the introduction, is that what we call the blended purpose visitor. And that blended purpose visitor is someone who'd be looking for business, maybe in the day, but then looking for lifestyle, cultural exploration during the day, and looking for something very specific around the emotion that the place he goes to generates. So, and I know that you're an advocate of moving away from an ROI-driven approach to more of an experience-led approach in the way you approach brand as a chief brand officer. So as you drive that brand of Jumeirah towards the future, how are you adapting it to adopt potentially new models or adapt existing models to that new type of visitor that could be visiting your assets or destinations?
Thank you for the question and welcome everyone. A couple of parts to the answer. Let's start off by saying that ROI is not going away. I think it's the fuel that we use to drive ROI is what's going to change in a future state. First off, the pivot that we're really doubling down on is the focus of who we're targeting, right? Jumeirah is a luxury brand, and by default, we speak to and serve a luxury clientele. Now, this clientele, as you know, comes with incredibly high expectations. Not just the expectations, but they're also looking for a sense of discovery and to be inspired. And I think those of you that caught the presentation from Mr. Lawless earlier on, he spoke of Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab. I think this property that we launched earlier this year is a very good example of our ability to create a property that gives this guest a sense of discovery, where the morning you can have an iconic beachside experience, you can then go to world-class culinary and finish the day with state-of-the-art wellness. This is the expectations that we're looking to exceed with regards to the group set we're speaking to. I think the second part to this is a sense of community and belonging, all right? This luxury clientele is looking for belonging, and as a brand, we like to see ourselves as more than just a place to stay, but really we're a modulus of global culture and connection. So building community around your property and augmenting it for this like-minded clientele is a very big part of the experience that we're looking to deliver. I think the final part to this is we also have a very engaged follower, and as we look to expand, creating experience beyond the GCC, we already have properties around the world, but those of you that will be present tomorrow, you'll hear from our Chief Growth Officer, Alex Lee. He'll speak to some of our expansion plans. Keeping that sense of discovery and experience top of mind is very much the front of his agenda as well.
What does that mean for you, David, as Senior Vice President for Finance? So at Atlantis, how do you see, or how do you balance between that ROI perspective, the yield, and then the experience? What does that mean for you?
Thanks, Philippe. Pleasure to be here. You can think about it from our financial perspective that the owners have basically, handed you billions of dollars of assets, and now you have to effectively arrange a portfolio of products that can provide not only like an amazing guest experience, but that can also drive a return that is satisfactory to the owner expectations. So when we think about our customer base, and really it's the addressable market, and then catering a portfolio or a suite of products to cater to that market, and you can just think about your day-to-day experience, right? Well, it's very, very nice to stay in a super nice hotel and go to a 3-star Michelin restaurant or something like that. But then, do you want to go to that same restaurant at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m.? So you kind of think, okay, my products have to be diversified, and they have to be diversified not only for my customers, but also for their preferences. And so when we think about the range of products that we're offering, not everything is going to have the highest margin, right? We're going to have to offer products that cater to people's differing expectations, and really it's going to be the blending of those products is what we call experiences, how the customers interface with those products at different times of the day, at different seasons. Everyone realizes, well, this conference is happening in October. It didn't happen 2 months before. There's a reason for that, right? And so it's also from a seasonality perspective, you're trying to say, okay, we can address the demand, we can offer these products, and then over a yearly budget, an annual budget, we're going to look and we're going to basically say, okay, this is what we're offering to the customer base. This will meet the expectations that our owners and our managers require.
So let me stop on, we talked a lot about experiential, and I've introduced also, and it was introduced in prior to the panel, the stay, play, shop layers of experience. One of the key findings and analysis in the publication we recently published, if we can say that, was around the orchestration and really focusing on the emotions rather than focusing on separate, disconnected stay, play, and shop experiences. So let me ask you the question to you, Stefan. Chedi is known for being embedded in the cultural authenticity, local ecosystems. How do you create experiences where those different, if we could call them silos in a previous world, are really seamlessly connected and do not feel as separate touch points, which can be a major challenge in the way we provide experiences to our guests?
I think it starts for me now, having been with the company 2 years as an owner and an operator, that when you have conversations, it's one thing is about the existing product we have. The other thing is about the new products we have. And we're talking at the moment partners in Japan, Finland, Zanzibar, Madrid, you name it. I'm excited to announce over the next 12 months several new products which we will launch under even different brand. We have one brand now, the Chedi. We will have something boutique, we have something lifestyle, but I think it starts when you sit down with an owner, an asset manager, and as an operator together and define what you want to accomplish. And that's really day one, day zero, where you define what can be delivered and what can be not. Now, what we have done, probably others doing as well, we have engaged with travel writers. I find this, we all do mystery shopping, and all of us have worked for many brands, and we do that once a year, every 3 months. But I found some success now if we have a travel writer from the New York Times and somebody else who goes into our existing product on a frequent basis, and he stays for 3, 4, 5 days, and it truly gives me the feedback as a customer, if it's as a corporate customer, as a leisure customer, and it takes my team apart, it takes my brand apart, which will make me better, makes us better, and that's great. Simple things. You could have sold this, you could have said this, and it's as much as answering a phone, it's the tone of voice, it's that engagement instant. And Jared, you said never say no. I learned that from you, correct? In the old days, it's long time ago, but many times it's the no, it's not possible. And I think that's exactly, that will make a big difference. Doesn't matter what brand you carry, but I think just having that right attitude, and I see that's where we be able to come into a space as a brand, delivering something different.
So listening and capturing that feedback, being accountable against it.
And then business excellence and training. It starts with the training on the ground. It's the colleagues who have to deliver and being empowered and know that they cannot do because I need to charge for this. Give it away. Create loyalty from a customer base. That's key.
We'll talk about it in the next part, maybe with Michael specifically. But a question to you, Abe, on that aspect of different experiences being brought to the customer in a very seamless manner. If we look at it from hospitality, culture, retail, I mean, how do you work on integrating all of that to create destinations that are active all year round? That also, like I was asking David, that also bring that balance between experience and ROI and commercial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think one of the themes we've seen globally since COVID, especially, is more and more sort of mixed-use resort developments, lower density, sort of horizontal build, hotel, residential, marinas, beach, etc. Often with retail components and so forth. And I think those are good examples of understanding, the scale of a project and how it integrates with the community. We love projects, for instance, where you are associated with the town next door, which has its own character, and you can draw not just on talent, but you can kind of tap into the restaurant scene or the nightlife or whatever else you have, to offer, rather than, isolating the guest from it. So we like to embrace the local communities in that sense. But yes, I think, thinking ROI as well, a lot of these mixed-use projects, the hotels can sort of get forgotten and sort of blended into the overall, financing. But for us, it's key that the hotel performs on its own as well. And We do that in a number of different ways. We find ways to activate the hotels, as I mentioned earlier. We have some great F&B partnerships. We have some great retail partnerships and so forth. But also sort of testing new boundaries. We have a number of resort projects we're doing with that lens in Mexico, in Greece, but we're working on a flagship Baccarat resort in the Maldives, which is sort of our first iteration of that ultra-luxury brand in that sort of environment with a residential component. So bringing in sort of a different sort of scale to what the Maldives is used to, adding in a number of, again, sort of F&B venues, art gallery spaces, retail, in a way that doesn't, again, sort of take away from your natural environment, but allows people to spend more time there and actually kind of immerse themselves and still have a lot of those luxuries. Yeah.
And one thing that came in the report and the analysis that we did is, destinations and the whole sector transformation, including a lot of the themes that you're touching on, depend on something or a concept which is extremely important, is the role in orchestrating all that ecosystem. And I think, Stefan, when you're saying that you're using and you're listening to the feedback to then, it's a kind of orchestration and playing that role to have that ultimate accountability on how to change things. And that's a very recurring topic in the analysis that we made. And it goes just beyond orchestrating just the offerings. It's also orchestrating your capabilities internally, from loyalty to digital to tech, and you name it, all different capabilities. So maybe to you, David, from an Atlantis perspective, how do you structure the financial models and the partnerships, that whole orchestration, to support on the long-term experience innovation, improving from a technology, from a digital and innovation standpoint, rather than just one-off developments or projects?
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. Anecdote from a long time ago, one of my professors told me, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Yeah.
And really you have to kind of think about it from the first principles perspective. Are we undertaking projects that are going to generate incremental return in some way, right? Now, there's many different ways that you can kind of justify these things. And you can maybe look at, let's say, pure brand marketing, and maybe those ROI discussions may be very quite involved, right? When you say, okay, well, is this making sense? But we can also look at, marketing is a very good example, because you can look at like your overall EBITDA and you look at your overall marketing budget and say, okay, I need this amount of marketing to support my overall revenue and my overall reach to my customers, right? So it's very difficult from an integrated resort perspective to pull one thing out and say we don't need this, right? Because effectively these businesses are going concerns. They've been operating for a long time, and so therefore the business model is working. But just as a pure kind of first principle, I would say you gotta understand what the business model is. Is it your rooms, your F&B, right? For us, we have a big water park, and then we gotta understand what is it we're investing in? What is it we're trying to solve? A lot of the projects that we actually undertake are on cost savings initiatives. So we're looking at how technology can help us to streamline operations. There's really two sides to it. One's on, you can say, just pure cost. The other side is on incremental revenue. We really focus a lot on what's incremental. And when we say incremental, we mean adding to the top line, not necessarily displacing, not rooms to F&B or water park to something else, right? We're really trying to always move that needle forward. If we can get revenue growth and we can get revenue growth more than cost growth, then we kind of know we're doing a good job.
All right. And from your perspective, Michael, as from Jumeirah's perspective, I think, Stefan, you were mentioning loyalty. For you, and also it's coming from the conversation we've had, loyalty, if I'm not mistaken, you were mentioning the fact that loyalty for you is really a sense of belonging rather than different siloed transactions, which can be totally understood, and we see it. How do you see digital, loyalty, tech, data, really that whole ecosystem orchestration working from your end, and maybe from a different perspective than David as a chief brand officer, to create that emotional continuity and experience to the guests?
Yeah, I don't believe loyalty can be bought. I think loyalty is a consequence of you doing the right thing. And in this case, the product that we're trading is really experience. We have a loyalty program, Jumeirah One. We've got over 45,000 active Jumeirah One users from all across the world, the UK, the US, here obviously in the GCC. With regards to data, that gives us an incredible opportunity to really interrogate taste, preferences, expectations of what this core group of active Jumeirah guests are expecting from us as a brand. Like I say, we go back to this idea that we're more than just a place to stay, that we're a modulus of global culture and connection. And when I look at the opportunity of data in particular, this gives us unbounded opportunity to recreate the guest experience that we're driving here.
Good. I mean, I'm reflecting on everything that we've mentioned here, the recent publication also we did, the analysis. And this maybe makes me say that as a conclusion, if we think of tomorrow's visitor, how would they think? Or instead of thinking, where should I go? Maybe the next visitor would be, what is it that I want to feel? What feeling do I want to have? Which emotion do I want to feel? So maybe just to conclude here, I think we have just a couple of minutes left. In one word, maybe starting with you, we'll do it in order, Stefan. What would serving the next wave of visitor mean for you in 30 seconds?
Starts with my kids, correct? So actually, it's listening to different generational needs, and like longevity means different things. I told you that for me, it's the swimming, the walking, a glass of wine. For somebody wants a microchip or something else. So it's different things to different people. And I think that's what we need to integrate. I created a shadow board, which is under 20 years old, who sits into our board meetings and gives us feedback as an example, which is a different generation.
So again, feedback and understanding.
Feedback, very much listening.
David?
So, I mean, the last time you went to a restaurant or a nice hotel, do you remember exactly what you had to eat? Not necessarily, right? But you remember who you were with and how that experience felt. And so those are the things that we're striving for, is to recreate those emotions. It's really an emotional connection to the guest, and it's in the customization of that experience, right? So everyone experiences the product in a different way, right, on their terms. And what we want to do is be able to maximize that guest experience, which is very difficult in our organization. We get easily 15,000 people a day. So really it's customization, and it's really through technology how we're going to make sure each customer can experience that.
Okay, great. So how do you connect internally and do you enable that experience for
That's right.
the customers that you understand? For you, Michael?
Look, I think in general it's huge opportunity. I think the industry is really in a state of convergence right now. We have a new generation of luxury traveler entering our space, and this gives us huge potential to shift how we deliver our business. Like I say, going back to understanding the insights, because this new consumer has a totally different set of tastes and expectations and preferences to the ones before. So I think that really is the opportunity for us as a business. I think I'll take your word, but I'll take it one step further, right? We talk about orchestration. Jumeirah, it's about curation, all right? So how do we truly curate that guest experience across all touch points of the guest journey while they're on property with us?
So if curation is the word for you, Michael, for you, Abe, what would be that final word on tomorrow's or the future?
I was told I had a sentence, but yeah, if I had to pick a word, I think similar theme. I think just being nimble is important. We often forget, right, in talking from the brand space, but hotels are real estate, and real estate is a very sort of long-term and rigid sort of investment. So figuring out what is a spa going to mean 10 years from now, in some ways, who knows, but being able to kind of give yourself the ability to be flexible and adapt along the way, and yes, tap into the individual as much as you can, which could mean not a points-based loyalty program, but a version where you can, send a customized rate to a specific person in a specific place because they like to travel to X destination. I mean, you can get as scientific as that, and I think the more of that you can do, the more value there is.
Great. Well, thank you very much, panelists. I think ultimately what we're saying, and I heard it in a lot of the words that were said, ultimately the ultimate return on investment of destination experience isn't just economical, it's emotional. So thank you all. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.